So recently, Hoyoverse released their newest game called Zenless Zone Zero, and since I've also tried Genshin, Honkai Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and Wuthering Waves, I figured I should also give Zenless Zone Zero a shot to see if the game was actually good or if people were just overhyping it and it was actually really trash. So, on July 14th, I opened Zenless Zone Zero for the first time. Hey, 99% of you guys watching aren't subscribed yet, so please consider subscribing. We are almost to 10K. After booting the game up for day one, I was greeted by an amazing cutscene, and you can immediately see where all the budget for the game went. But after that was over, I was able to select my character, and then we got thrown into this weird comic book thing, which wasn't as cool, but it was there, I guess. But after we finished the comic book part, we got thrown right back into the action. Put it to rest. Oh, we actually get to play the game. It's not a comic book anymore. Let's go! No, next paycheck actually stays in your bank account. That sounds like a much better idea. Anby? Oh, snap. This kind of looks nice. After the cutscene, we got to try out the gameplay for the first time, and to be honest, I was a little disappointed, mainly since the combat just felt really similar to Honkai Impact 3rd. But aside from that, we also got to meet my favorite character of all time, Billy. After reading way too much dialogue, we got to play a bit more before getting thrown into another comic book page where we see Nicole, the leader of the bunch, talking to me and my brother Wise about saving her crew from the area they were in, which is called a hollow. This is when you get thrown into the other gameplay aspect of Zenless Zone Zero, which is actually really fun. You traverse the levels of the game by going through a bunch of TV screens to collect all the objectives you have, such as currencies, stars, and you also sometimes have to fight monsters that will allow you to unlock other areas that you can also explore. For most of day one, I mainly spent it exploring all the game's aspects and all the things I could do. But after I finished that, I just played a couple more levels and decided to end stream and pick it back up on day 2. On day 2, I didn't really have a lot of time to do anything, so I kind of just wandered around. But when I went to eat dinner, I decided to AFK while petting a cat to see if it would give me an achievement, which it didn't, by the way. Like, seriously, Hoyo, that's really cringe. I pet that cat for 30 minutes while I ate food and I didn't get an achievement. I'm disappointed. After I finished petting the cat, I also tried the pulling system, which, by the way, is one of the coolest gambling animations I have ever seen in a gacha game. But after I was done with that, I had to get off so I could get up early the next morning. On day 3, I was doing a mission that took me to this arcade place with Billy, and I was able to play a 2v2 Snake game, which apparently I am incredibly garbage at Snake. Anyways, after that, I decided to do one of the story quests where I tried out this guy who had a taser strapped to his arm. I continued the mission where we had to save a couple people in the hollow, but after that, we exited with an S-tier performance. Yippee! We continued doing more of the missions and none of them were very difficult. It was mainly spam your buttons and you would most likely win. But I figured that was just because it was still in the early stages and they would progressively get harder as time went on. For the rest of day 3, I mainly just played the missions, and I just want to point out, this game has some crazy animations in it. Like, it's very impressive how good it looks, and it also makes me wonder, how much time did it take to animate all of it? I was also able to fight a really cool looking boss, and the opening cutscene was also really good too.
Almost here. The monster? The theme song. What? The bad guy's theme always plays before the final battle.
Don't worry, Ambi. I've mastered all the rules for a surefire win from the Starlight Knights. Gotta break the rules when fighting bad guys. Take them out in less than 10 seconds with a flying kick.
God, I love Billy.
They won't even have time to play their theme song.
Behind you.
Behind you.
My predictions were out-predicted.
You big dummy! The only thing they'd be playing for you are the credits.
Don't
The
tell
only
me this
thing
guy's
that'd
a
be
fan of
playing
the
for
Starlight Knights too.
Okay, this is kind of gas though. My turn? Anyways, that boss, by the way, was a total breeze. He stood no chance against me. But after that, I decided I would pick it back up on day 4. On day 4, nothing really interesting happened, but I did get to meet this really cool police cat, and I also did a couple of the side quests that were really cool, like this one soccer one I got to play. I also made sure that on every day I could, I would stop by the coffee shop and ramen shop to see what items I could get, which they help with stuff, but I'm not quite sure what they do. But after that, I decided to call it a night and would boot up the game on day 5. For day 5, I spent most of it doing side quests and grinding materials for my characters so I could try and get them to a higher level. I also needed a specific level to continue the rest of the prologue, which was also why I was grinding. I also was able to play this really cool story mission about a character called Soldier 11, who is another character I really enjoyed playing. After I finished those, I got myself a stat boosting item from the ramen shop place and decided to test it out against a boss, but I didn't really feel like it worked all too well. But then again, I didn't know if it was an in-combat thing where it works or if it was something that just refills your energy bar. After I did that, I also tried out the combat and exploration options in the level select area, which the exploration ones weren't too crazy, but the combat ones were really fun since you just fight a bunch of enemies and get rewards for it. After I did all those, I decided to call it a day and would get to the story again on day 6. On day 6, I was able to finish the grinding part very quickly and was able to get back to the story again where we find our character and Wise discussing the movies that they are going to put in their movie store. After that, we spot a purple guy, a weird stranger outside our movie store, and he's a customer. So our character has to go and get movies by herself, which nothing could go wrong, right?
Was that the bite of 87?
Anyways, apparently something went wrong while our character was on her way to get movies, so we had to go back to our computer and boot up a rescue team to save her from the Hollow's enemies. After searching the Hollow up and down, we saved a bunch of civilians, but none of them had our character in it. So, we had to keep exploring to find her. We also had to fight these weird bomb monsters in the top-down version, which, by the way, they were super annoying and I hated them. Because every time you got hit by a bomb, you'd also lose HP, yada yada yada, all that jazz. But other than that, we made it to the final boss fight and we finally squared up against a giant mech. This boss wasn't too hard for me since you have to fight them in the VR place in order to get materials for your characters to level them up. So I had the moveset pretty locked into my brain, and it was super easy for me to beat him up that way. But after we saved ourselves from a bad situation, we were able to enjoy a nice bowl of ramen with Wise. After that, we were tasked with getting to level 22, so I decided to save it for the final day. I opened the game on day 7, and by the way, if you want to catch the first or last days of when I play for a week, I stream every Sunday right here at 1 p.m. CST, so come stop by. Anyways, on day 7, after we finished grinding for about an hour, we got thrown into this really weird Sesame Street ripoff comic book thing, which was really funny, but really strange. And once that was over, we spotted one of the guest stars in the street, and it turns out they needed our help. This story mission we had to do had to be one of my favorites, especially since we got to meet the greatest character of all time, Ben. I'd also just like to mention that their company name is named Bellabog, which is also a place in Honkai Star Rail, so I also thought that was pretty cool. We then helped out the crew with finding a bunch of rogue robots that the crazy mechanic lady needed to get back, so we went and helped out. And I also would like to voice, up until now in the 7 days, I haven't really been challenged at all. And it was kind of a bummer since I was really hoping for more of a challenge, especially since I had the harder mode option turned on. But before you raise your torches and pitchforks at me, I would like to add I only was able to get through the prologue. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about the difficulty level. But other than that, we passed the mission with flying colors after defeating the 2 heavy machinery robots. These 2 boss fights, by the way, were incredibly annoying just because of the way they were set up. But after I finished those, I spent the rest of day 7 grinding to become the #1 2v2 snake player. And that was it for the 7 days of Zenless Zone 0. It honestly was a pretty fun game, and the animations were also really good. But in my opinion, the game was way too easy, and the combat, although very clean looking, it just kind of felt like a copy-paste of Honkai Impact's gameplay, which also made it feel kind of lazy. Anyways, let me know in the comments if you would like to see more content like this, and while you're down there, might as well hit the like and subscribe button. Finally, I would just like to say thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.